Welcome to the Minority Business Report, where we talk about positive things that are happening in Anne Arundel County. I am Joanne Jackson, Anne Arundel County Minority Business Enterprise Coordinator. My guest today is Bishop Abraham Shanklin, pastor of New Life International Ministries. Bishop Shanklin is ushering in a new era of faith-based initiatives with his new venture, Center for Transformation. But before we get started, we'd like you to tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what it is that you do.
Great. Well, I thank you for having me today. I'm really excited. I am a big fan of your show and watch it regularly when I get an opportunity. And so I've always man, what is it like to be there sitting across from Joanne, and just the tremendous impact that you have in a number of minority business owners and workers in our county. So I'm just really excited about being here today. And in response to your question about a little bit about myself, I'm originally from the Midwest. I was born and raised in a city called East St. Louis, Illinois. It's about 8 hours south of Chicago and about an hour east of St. Louis, Missouri. And I am one of 9 children, and I am a son of an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur in the city. He had owned several business ventures and did a number of things to help impact and shape the community where I was raised. I ended up being a transplant here to Maryland because I joined the United States Air Force. So I am a Air Force veteran and had my first tour of duty in Italy, and then was assigned here to the Fort Meade area. And I've been a resident of Maryland for nearly 3 decades now. So I am married to the former Ingrid K. Palmore, who's also a former United States Air Force service person. So she's a veteran as well. And we have some lovely children who are, they're grown. Our daughter actually graduates this year, so we'll be empty nesters. So we're very excited about our next season of life.
And as long as I've known you, I didn't know you were an ex-vet.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, now I see where you get all your energies from. And it's been a while since we've talked, so I was pleasantly surprised when you told me about your new ventures. And in our previous shows, we often talk about our past experience and how they shape our future endeavors. Can you talk about the evolutionary process that you've experienced, moving from a small congregation, building your first church, developing in your international ministries, and now creating the Center of Transformation?
Wow, that probably would take longer than the length of our broadcast. So what I'll attempt to do is to sort of, for the audience, give them the Cliff Notes version of this journey. After completing my enlistment in the Air Force, I went into the IT field and did some IT work at what is now the Baltimore Washington Medical Center. And so I worked in the IT department there, and then for one brief moment I owned my own computer business and computer consulting firm. And then after that, my desire was just to answer this unique call that many across the nation and around the world have answered when it comes to faith and community. And so I left the IT world, became a pastor in this community. In fact, this past weekend, we celebrate 22 years as New Life Fellowship International Ministries.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much. And so the evolution of starting the congregation in a small storefront on New Ridge Road in Hanover, Maryland, and then progressing from there to purchasing some land off of Harmons Road and developing that property, and then building a capacity to further do some of the community things that our church, our ministry, has always been passionate about. And so we continue to do that work, and then we evolved into the international component of our ministry because we began to import this idea of community and faith and encouragement and leadership development outside of our local jurisdiction, which is the state of Maryland, into other states, and then and in some nations around the world, as far out as Vanuatu, which is 3 hours northwest of Australia, and some east and western nations in Africa. And so that's how we morphed into this international component. And then recently...
Well, tell me about some of those countries. Where have you been?
We've been to Vanuatu, we've been to Australia, we've been to Kenya, East Africa, we've been to Nigeria, West Africa, and Ghana, West Africa. And in those nations, we travel to develop leaders, to help generate and encourage enthusiasm in business and entrepreneurship. We challenge, many of those, the people in those nations that we've come in contact with, fueling their passion for wanting to own their own business. So we've had an opportunity to travel to those nations to do that. So that's how we develop into the international arm of our ministry. And then recently, we wanted to expand and do a little bit more and to have a broader reach in our community, and thus the Center of Transformation was born. The Center of Transformation was born under the motto, Real Answers for Relevant Solutions. And our ultimate goal was real answers with relevant solutions is what our motto is. And so our ultimate goal is, how can we make an even greater impact in our community, networking and knitting together the resources that exist in our community. So that's how we are now, as a part of our ministry, the Center of Transformation.
And with that Center of Transformation, you had another alternative for you?
Oh yes.
Altered for life.
Yeah. So a part of what we call our catchphrase, our brand for the Center of Transformation. We thought when, as you and I were discussing before the beginning of the show, we were talking about how we wanted to be a part of life transformation. So essentially, our brand is Altered for Life, and so people can reach us at www.alteredforlife.org. That's altered, the number 4 for life.org. And ultimately, our goal is that we want to impact lives. We want people to know that they have the power to transform themselves, regardless of what deck of cards or what hand they were dealt with in the beginning of life, regardless of what their past has been like. They can transform their lives. And so we branded ourselves Altered for Life as a way to really capture what our passion is, as a ministry, as a community steward, and facilitating impact in the people's lives in our community.
And just to show your progression, you started with approximately how many people?
Well, we probably started years ago at approximately 30.
Okay, and you're now at?
Yeah, we're probably around 250, 300.
Oh, isn't that excellent?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. You were a very active member of our Anne Arundel County Minority Business Enterprise Committee for over 10 years. And as the manager of that program, I collaborated with you on a number of outreach projects focused on minority and women business owners. Can you talk about that experience and lessons learned from your association with us?
Well, I think it was a tremendous experience for me. It was a tremendous experience working with you and the people that you helped to facilitate assembling together that helped champion the cause of minority businesses in our county. And what was so unique about the experience, it was learning about the different passions that people had and the desire to want to create those products and services to meet the needs in our community, to provide those resources that fill gaps and, if necessary, overlap and have those wraparound services that sometimes so easily get neglected by, larger, more oftentimes traditional, programs and systems and organizations. So one of the things that I learned, the biggest thing in working with that committee that has helped shape some of the things that I do even more so today, and that is, and this is your favorite word, networking. That was the biggest thing that I learned about how powerful networking is. That when you can get in the room and connect with other people who may have something you need or a resource that you have that they may need, it truly provides, a pathway to become more accomplished than you've ever before. So I've learned networking is a huge benefit to anybody who wants to do business in the county.
And you try to explain that to people, and sometimes they don't get it. And I know that you got it, and members of your congregation got it, because you did something at the library. You initiated a relationship with the library, and we did a minding your business or something on that level.
That's right.
And we did another project together in which we had actual networking event,
That's right.
business meeting at your church, and
That's right.
that went very, very well. At first, I thought people were going to kind of be touchy about getting involved with the religious community, but they kind of embraced you, and you embraced them, and that was one of our better meetings.
It sure was.
And I'm
Yes.
sure that was almost like 10 years ago.
Yes, it was.
People were very enthused about being in your new church, and hopefully we can do another event like that probably before the year is over.
I hope so.
I love your new facility. Community economic development is a field of study that actively solicits community involvement when working with the government and private sectors to build strong communities. The Collective Empowerment Group, which was formed by a group of black pastors in another jurisdiction, they sought to address the inequitable access to capital and business services where they were being subject to redlining and questionable business practices. That empowerment group has now become the model for community development corporations throughout the region. Let's talk about your concept of community economic development and how that new facility in Hanover will help you achieve your purpose.
Well, I'm glad you raised that because one of the great strengths of a community is, again, and I don't want to overemphasize the word networking, collaboration, community togetherness are also essential. And so that model sort of has had an impact in communities around the state and around the nation. And so with that, with the bug of being the son of an entrepreneur, with the work that I had with you in the committee for those number of years, with the collective banking group and its organization you've done, we sought in our new facility that we just relocated in was to establish it as a model for providing those resources that help strengthen the residents and those who are particularly interested in business. So we structured our facility so that it could be a resource in the West County, the west end of the county, to provide either a facility for those who need to brainstorm ideas of entrepreneurship. There'd be a facility where we can bring in workshops and conferences and whole sessions around economic development and economic empowerment to not just, our goal is not as you reference, as a faith-based organization, not to exclusively address faith-based issues. Faith-based is our core because there are principles and values that help us to embrace everybody and anybody who has an idea and such. But our goal is anybody who's bit with the bug of entrepreneurship or who desires to get into business or who wants to be a part of contributing to making our county, a successful place for people to not just live but to work and to do business. And so our facility is shaped that it can be rented for networking sessions. We're looking at providing job opportunities to developing soft skills for those who need work in doing resume development or interview honing skills. If somebody wanted to rent an office, we have a space where somebody, if they just needed a temporary space just to get up and running, they can come and we can lease them an office on a short-term basis. We're looking at doing some other educational pieces. Because we're so close to BWI, we could provide a transportation hub. If people can get there, we can get them to different places. So the idea of sort of being an economic empowerment facility in the west end of the county was the vision behind forming the Center of Transformation, connected with the faith elements, the health elements that we've added, the community development elements that we've added, and some educational pieces. Essentially, what is the vision for the Center of Transformation?
And your center, how many square feet is that?
We are occupying approximately 16,000 square feet in that center.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with your state-of-the-art audiovisual setup. Can you tell us what prompted you to go in that direction?
Yeah, well, we wanted, again, a part of, being a resource to help those who are interested in getting to the next level, either in their business, in their company. So we knew that we wanted to be consistent with what's happening in the culture today. And part of that is technology and the big boom of social media and its impact that it's having on our culture and our community specifically. So we wanted to have the kind of technology that would facilitate that. So if somebody wanted to come and rent our facility and they needed a video camera, videotaping, we could provide that. If they needed audio, services, we can provide that. But they would be state-of-the-art equipment that would facilitate good quality recording, good quality videotaping, good quality playback to audiences that they might be inviting into the facility. We wanted to be able to provide that. And so our facility is totally wired. Most of the rooms have, televisions for playback or for playing. Our conference room is state-of-the-art. It has not only the projector, but it also has the capability where you, from your laptop, can project on the television. Smart board technology is coming in. Smart board technology is coming in for several our rooms that will be available for rent. And so our goal was to provide a state-of-the-art, audio-visual facility so that when people came in, they could have the technology to match exactly where they want to go.
That's really exciting, and I'm glad that you went to that level with this, and we certainly are going to connect with you again at some point to talk about that. What are you doing now? What types of events have you had thus far?
Well, one of the biggest things that we're working on is finding a way, particularly from the vantage point of the Center of Transformation, is to be one of those representatives, one of those voices in the west end of the county. And so we are working at producing some business mixers. We are looking at strategizing a couple of town hall meetings. One, we want to do a police and community safety town hall meeting in light of a lot of, police issues that are happening across the nation. So we wanted to sort of facilitate that. Some things have been happening in Annapolis. We want to kind of introduce that on the west end of the county. So we're looking at that. We're looking at some educational forums that we want to present. We are, through our facility, looking at connecting with some of the schools in the area so that we can be a mentoring resource so that we can help close the achievement gap that exists in our public education system. So we're trying to do a number of things. So our biggest thing is a business mixer, what we call a coffee and tea mixer. We're just a networking event that we're seeking to plan in the next several weeks here. So that's coming about, and people can log on to our website, altarforlife.org, for updated information concerning that. And also with the business mixer that we're seeking plan, we're also offering an opportunity to create some job training in our facility. But the biggest thing I think that's most exciting for us is that we're looking to open up an academy this fall. So
yes,
the beginning,
tell us about that.
So the beginning, the fall of this year, we're opening up New Life Academy, where we're going to be engaging education with excellence for kids from kindergarten, K-5 to 3rd grade. And so we're very excited about partnering with a number of other schools that have already been established before we've come on board, and also our public school system under the leadership of who we have leading us now. We just wanted to be a part of the conversation, be a part of the dialogue, be a part of the work of educating the next generation. So opening up the fall of this year is New Life Academy, and we're very, very excited about that.
What grade? 8 grades?
Kindergarten, K-5 through 3rd grade. And then next year we will double back and reach the early childhood education, K-3, 3-year-old and 4-year-olds, the pre-K step, and then ultimately, a grafting in some higher grades. So we're very, very excited about that. We think that that is the biggest thing that the Center of Transformation one of the things that could be involved in is promoting education. So we're very excited about that.
And you had a big national corporation come in earlier this year?
Last year,
What was
late
that?
last year, we had the American Heart Association who came in and hosted a national event at our facility. And so there again, our facility proved to be a space that, because it was state of the art, because it could accommodate this kind of gathering, that they gather from all over the region, different churches and faith groups and other organizations who came in to teach about being healthy. And they had their national representatives that were there, and so it was a very, very exciting. It was tremendous. It was the first of that level, of that kind, here on the East Coast, and we got an opportunity and the honor to host that. And so it was awesome.
So what would you say is the capacity of the sanctuary, the open part that you're...
Our auditorium can, capacity-wise, seat comfortably 350, and if we put in round tables, we can seat approximately 160 at round tables with chairs at the table. So in a banquet-style seating, about 160, auditorium type seating, about 350, standing room, if we were just standing around, say, bar type tables, we can accommodate up to 400 people in that auditorium.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
That's fairly exciting. And I understand that the county executive has visited your center recently.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was very exciting. We wanted to make sure that as an organization that we were committed to being a part of solutions to help, improve the quality of life for all the citizens here in Anne Arundel County. So we recently hosted our county executive, the Honorable Steve Shue, along with 9 other leaders, clergy leaders in our community all over the county, from the east, the west, and the north and the south end of the county. And we all came together representing collectively over 150 years of leadership in our county, and we invited our county executive in so that we get to know what his vision is for the county. We wanted to hear what his vision was, and how we could help that vision. Because ultimately our goal is to be a part of helping what needs to strengthen and make our community a great community, and the people who live in this community to get the access they need to the resources. So we wanted to know what his vision was and what his plan, and how we could partner with him in those areas. And he was most gracious to get up that early in the morning. It was a breakfast type scenario, but he came and he listened, he took notes, and he shared his vision. And the 10 of us made a commitment to him that if he needed anything, if he needed support and services, we could be one of those groups that could also help facilitate that. So it was wonderful, and we gave him a tour of our facility so he could see that peradventure he wanted to host something on the west end of the county, and he needed a venue to do it. The Center of Transformation could be that venue that he could use to host that.
But there's a lot of people who have not yet heard Mr. Shue talk about his vision. How did you interpret that vision for the county?
That's a great question, and a part of that was the crust of why we invited him, because we hadn't heard either, and we wanted to know, as leaders in the community. And the group really appreciated him sharing the vision, and that vision lined up with a lot of what our passions were already in the county. Many of us as leaders in the county are all about not just our congregants that we serve on a weekly basis, but the constituents that we have an opportunity outside of our congregations to have an opportunity to reach. And so his vision for the county, whether it's dealing with this drug epidemic around heroin and meth, to dealing with our seniors and their needs in the county. He laid out some incredible things that we felt very encouraged by, and knew that this was a man who has a passion for doing the work to strengthen our county.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm sure our audience is glad to hear that coming from you, especially folks in the Black community that don't often get an opportunity to meet the county executive or other people in the government. And I also understand that there are a number of other church coalitions, as you mentioned, forming to promote economic development in Odenton and other locations in the county. Could you tell us about your collaborations with these other pastors in the Black community.
Yes, and so all of those that were there at the meeting that we had with the county executive were pastors who have been actively involved, as we said, collectively. When you total up the number of years of leadership, it was well over 150 years. And so they've been very active in empowering the people in our community through, means of economic development. I just recently visited with a pastor and his wife who opened up a cafe in Odenton called Kingdom Cafe. And it was just a tremendous idea of not only employing people, and that's what we're passionate about concerning New Life Academy. It's not just the idea that we're educating kids, but we're also employing people as well. So we're hiring teachers that are local in this community. We're hiring aides. We're hiring administrative staff. And so when I had an opportunity to visit Bishop Palmer and Lady Barbara Palmer in their Kingdom Cafe that recently opened, I was inspired because that's business. That's minority business. That's economic development. Taking a space that had anything in it and turning it into something that would have an impact in that community. And they serve, they have a great menu. You got to go on Fridays because it's Soul Food Fridays. Oh my goodness. So the food is delicious and everything is great. And so the number of pastors get together and we collaborate those efforts, and how the biggest thing that we're doing in terms of economic collaboration is a number of us from Bishop Coates with Fresh Start, Pastor Calhoun from AME Church out in Annapolis. A number of us are coming together and we're making partnerships and we're forming partnerships to go after the resources to help impact our community. And so we formed a group called AIMA. And it's aiming for either health, aiming for either business, aiming for either climate development. And so we've come together in a collaboration to have a greater impact in our community. Apostle Thomas is a part of that with Empowerment Believers Church. So we've all come together and we formed and actually are moving towards getting our 501c3 as a clergy coalition to be able to advance in the area of economic development, impacting the different areas in our community. And this is all over from Annapolis to the west, to the east, and to the north and the south end of the county. So we're very, very excited about these efforts of coming together and making this happen.
Now, further north, can you give someone who doesn't live in the community, although I've been here a lot of years, are you familiar with what's happening in the Brooklyn Park, northern Glen Burnie area?
There is a couple of pastors out there, Pastor John Watts and Bishop Eric Wright, the two of them who have decided that as they settle and establish their congregations in that area, they're moving by the storm. Also, Pastor Men Flowers, who's out there, those pastors are having an impact in the northern part of the county. They are helping to provide resources and training and education and development, and they're not just in there visiting the community, they are settled and established in the community, and they're making a great impact in a number of ways, and they firmly support the efforts that we're doing in our collaborations as clergy.
Wonderful. It's so great to hear that. And as we close out this segment of our show, what words of advice or inspiration can you give someone at this time who has a unique idea and wants to go into business today?
Wow. I think that there are two things, if I was to talk to the audience who would be watching, there's going to be two things that would be critical. The first thing is know yourself. Know what you're capable of doing, know your limitations, know the extent of what your passion is. And so in a nutshell, that just simply means be a realist. Really set out to know and establish great expectations. And the second thing is, if you're going to do this, do not do it alone. Form a team around you. Get people around you who know what you don't know, who know more than what you know, so that they can help you firmly plant down on paper what your business plan is, what business model that you should direct your focus to, where you're going to get those resources from, how you're going to develop that. And so it's a great time to not only know yourself, but to frame that team around you. Get people who know how to handle money. Get people around you who know marketing. Get people around you who've been in the business. Learn from the people who already do what you're trying to do. And if you get those two elements around you, you will have a great start in being successful in launching your business.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, particularly about the focus. I had someone come visit me yesterday, and she had all these different skill sets, and she was working with some nonprofits, and the issue kept coming back up about, well, how do you generate income? And she was kind of lackadaisical about focusing in on that part of it. Now that to me that's what business is generating income. So if you're not generating income for your services, she was doing an activity for a friend, and I said, friends and business sometimes just don't mix.
That's right.
And so you've got to focus what it is that you want to do. And before she left me yesterday, she said, you gave me some really good basis of information, and I can't stress it. You have to look at your numbers.
That's right.
The numbers have to work for you, because I'm even sure when you started your Center for Transformation, the numbers had to be right for you. And we don't often talk about money and dollars and cents, and we can have this great idea and these concepts, but if it doesn't work, if it doesn't generate income, and the economy is changing so fast that the things that people thought that they could help generate income isn't doing it anymore.
That is true.
So thank you. Appreciate it for you coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Bishop Shanklin, for your words of advice and recommendation. Stay tuned to Channel 98, Verizon 38 for the Minority Business Report. You can also watch us on YouTube. If you have any comments or suggestions regarding this edition of the Minority Business Report, please contact me at the Office of Central Services in Annapolis on 410-222-7620. We are here working for you. Peace and blessings. The following bids are available from the Anne Arundel County Purchasing Office.